Claude 4 is quietly becoming the go-to AI for software developers. Canada's Telus goes big on investments in network and AI infrastructure. Meta signals that headcount reductions are now a permanent fixture, and SpaceX is losing satellites due to solar activity. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Welcome to Hashtrending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Claude Opus 4 is rapidly gaining traction among developers, outperforming competitors like OpenAI's GPT-4 and Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro in coding tasks. Its ability to autonomously handle complex programming challenges for extended periods is setting a new standard in AI-assisted software development. Claude Opus 4 has achieved a 72.5% score on the SWE Bench benchmark, surpassing GPT-4's 54.6%. In real-world applications, it has demonstrated the capability to work independently on intricate coding tasks for up to 7 hours on a rigorous open-source refactoring project. A realistic expectation from an AI is that only after a couple of hours they would start to lose coherence. At least in this long test, that didn't happen. The level of sustained performance is a significant advancement in AI coding assistance. The model's strengths lie in its hybrid reasoning approach, combining rapid responses with deep, step-by-step problem solving. Features like thinking summaries provide clear insights into its decision-making process, enhancing transparency and trust for developers. Additionally, Claude Opus 4 integrates seamlessly with popular development tools such as GitHub, VS Code, and JetBrains, streamlining the coding workflow. In fact, Cursor, one of the leading AI-driven IDEs, calls Claude Opus 4 state-of-the-art for coding and a leap forward in complex codebase understanding. While Replit, another noted IDE for AI, said that it has improved precision and dramatic advancements for complex changes across multiple files. In addition, GitHub has paid Claude the ultimate compliment when it chose it as the base model for its new coding agent in GitHub Copilot over its own parent company, Microsoft's AI engine. So Anthropic's focus on creating AI models that can handle long-duration, complex tasks is resonating with the developer community. The company's commitment to safety and reliability, coupled with its emphasis on agentic behavior, where the AI can plan and execute tasks with minimal oversight, positions Claude Opus 4 as a leader in the AI coding space. Its availability through platforms like Amazon Bedrock and Google's Cloud Vertex AI further broaden its accessibility. So for those who've wondered how Anthropic was going to compete with much larger companies like OpenAI and Google, especially since they haven't done much in the way of multimodal or audio and video, it appears that they are pursuing what Y Combinator, the startup investment fund, would call full-stack integration. Find a vertical or a specific area and dominate in that. Software development is an area with immense potential. Companies are hungry to gain that productivity dividend from implementing AI, and technology companies with large development organizations are one of the early adopters of AI at scale. So in the AI arena, nothing is guaranteed and major shifts happen in days and weeks, but it does seem like Anthropic's strategy is paying off. Telus has announced a substantial investment of over $70 billion in Canada over the next 5 years, aiming to enhance its network infrastructure and launch 2 new artificial intelligence data centers, as well as improving wireless coverage, particularly in rural areas. This comes at a time when the Canadian economy is facing challenges, largely due to the threat of tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. And these tariffs, which affect key Canadian exports such as steel, aluminum, and autos, have led Canadian companies to reconsider their reliance on U.S. markets and explore both local and international opportunities and suppliers. Undoubtedly, technology and communications will play a big role in the country's economic strategy. And for the first time, the federal government has a cabinet minister in charge of artificial intelligence, and an express mandate to grow Canadian technology in business and in government. So while Telus may not have been totally driven by these recent events, its strategy dovetails well with the government's objectives, as well as Canadians' exploding desire for made-in-Canada services and products. A centerpiece of this strategy is Telus's plan to bring pure fiber connectivity to new urban and rural regions in British Columbia, Alberta, Quebec, and Ontario, while also expanding coverage to 73 more rural and Indigenous communities by 2026. The company is also responding to Canada's surge in concern over its sovereignty by investing in new technological infrastructure to enhance Canadian data sovereignty, including launching 2 sovereign AI factories in Kamloops and Rimouski. These data/AI centers will, according to President Darren Entwistle, ensure that every piece of data, computation, and breakthrough created will remain within our borders. He further emphasized the investment as a cornerstone of Canada's competitiveness on the global stage, driving critical transformational change and advancing leadership in Canadian AI sovereignty, innovation, and development. Now, to put this into perspective, Microsoft, a company more than 10 times the size of Telus, made headlines when it announced an $80 billion investment in AI data centers and infrastructure. This shows how big a bet Telus is placing on the growth of digital business and AI in Canada over the coming years. There was an old line that you would hear in some companies in the 1990s. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Those were the days of re-engineering, employee layoffs disguised as efficiency measures. A part of this was a response to technology. Companies had invested countless millions on new technology and computerization, but they weren't seeing the savings or the ROI. And so they jumped at the snake oil of re-engineering as a way to cut people to increase productivity. To some extent, tech workers were exempt from this. The growing industry needed to attract and hold scarce resources. So while companies were making deep cuts in some areas, tech companies were making the office and the company more attractive. Great working conditions, lofty mission statements about the purpose of work, all of this and more to keep people focused and in the office and productive. Up until the pandemic, at least in tech companies, there were real moves to make workplaces more employee-oriented, to motivate employees to be more productive, creative, and customer-centric, and, frankly, to spend more time at the office. Well, you can kiss that goodbye, at least in big tech. After having recovered from the pandemic and laying off thousands of employees, Meta is now tightening its internal performance reviews, a shift that could quietly pave the way for more job cuts without formal announcements. According to internal guidelines obtained by Business Insider, Meta is directing managers to mark 15 to 20% of employees as below expectations in the upcoming mid-year reviews. That's up from 12 to 15% last year. And this applies even if employees previously had great performance reviews. So if you can't make your numbers, find some great employees and mark them down. Why? Well, it appears that after the waves of layoffs, companies may want to be encouraging employees to make voluntary exits. Meta has even set this as an expectation of their review cycle that begins on June 16th. It's being touted internally as an opportunity to make exit decisions. While Meta says no company-wide layoffs are currently planned, employees flagged during the process are at higher risk of eventual termination or reassignment. To make the numbers even better, those who have already resigned or were let go for underperformance will also be counted in the new evaluation metrics. The move follows Meta's January layoffs when about 4,000 employees, roughly 5% of the company, were let go. The company has laid off approximately 21,000 workers since late 2022. CEO Mark Zuckerberg has framed this as part of a broader year of efficiency, emphasizing leaner teams and stricter accountability. But Meta isn't alone. Amazon, Microsoft, Salesforce, and Google have all enacted sweeping layoffs or performance review crackdowns over the past year. Like Meta, many are now signaling a shift towards ongoing workforce optimization rather than one-time cuts. And it's spreading through the tech industry. Already, about 130 tech companies have conducted layoffs this year, resulting in over 61,000 employees losing their jobs, according to recent data from layoffs.fyi. Now, it's a two-edged sword. Employees can be downgraded in their performance ratings and hopefully resign before they're fired. It's what some call layoffs in slow motion. In turn, that puts enormous pressure on the remaining staff to meet tighter performance benchmarks, to work harder, to stay later. They might not be as extreme as Elon Musk's demand that employees sleep on the factory floor, but this will inevitably turn into longer hours and less work-life balance. Now, part of this has to do with share valuations. I learned long ago that CEOs want to see actual headcount reductions, and it doesn't matter if this breaks processes or compromises quality. I remember working on a plan in the 1990s to save jobs by a combination of relatively small management pay cuts and some job sharing. Our numbers were sound, and we'd shrink by real efficiency and attrition in the long run. Now, we didn't get laughed at, but it was more like, aren't you cute to care so much? And that's where I learned, at the CEO level, the body count was all that counted. That went away for a while, but the bad old days are back. And for those who are claiming that AI will generate a new job for everyone that's lost, I think we might be dreaming. Whether the efficiency gains from AI are true or not, tech companies will continue to shed bodies because, after all, people are our biggest asset, and sometimes you have to divest yourself of your assets. SpaceX's Starlink satellites are facing increasing challenges from heightened solar activity, leading to service disruptions and some satellite losses. In May of 2024, a significant geomagnetic storm, the most intense since 1989, caused Earth's upper atmosphere to expand, increasing drag on low Earth orbit satellites. This event led to degraded Starlink services and the loss of at least a dozen satellites. And that wasn't the first time solar activity had impacted Starlink. In February 2022, a similar storm caused 40 newly launched satellites to deorbit shortly after deployment. While the sun approaches its solar maximum, disruptive events are expected to become more frequent, posing ongoing challenges to satellite operations. So for remote users who are increasingly reliant on satellite internet, it highlights the dependence that we do have and the risks of service interruptions. And it's also a warning for satellite operators who might have to develop some more robust mitigation strategies to counteract these inevitable natural events. And that's our show for today. Love to hear what you think. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca. You can find me on LinkedIn, many of you do. Or you can just simply, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a message under the video in the comments section. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday.